Alright, so Transformers Rise of the Beasts is gonna be the big summer blockbuster next year, and we wanted to go over everything we know of these mechanical mammals going fisticuffs with the other robots in disguise, along with some potential leaks that may give us a better idea of what this latest Transformers may have in store. But no worries, we'll warn you when any sort of borderline spoiler is coming up, so with that out of the way, a huge thank you for clicking this. I'm your host, Jared. Now let's get into Transformers Rise of the Beasts.
You've never faced anything like this. Let them come.
So to get the wheels moving, Rise of the Beast will be taking a heavy inspiration from one of my favorite 90s animated shows, Beast Wars Transformers. In this, we saw robotic descendants of the Autobots and Decepticons, properly named the Maximals and the Predacons, get sucked through a time warp, essentially crashing to Earth millions of years before civilization. They take the form of animals rather than the traditional vehicles and aircrafts. Now, it's been confirmed that Rise of the Beasts takes place in 1994, being a sequel to 2018's Bumblebee, which was set in 1987. However, it does not appear that Haley Steinfeld's Charlie character will be making a return for this movie, with word that Rise of the Beasts is the first in a new Transformers trilogy. Unfortunately for all you Bayham fans out there, this isn't going to connect to the Michael Bay films that ruled the box office in the late 2000s and 2010s, but with this taking place 20-some years before those movies, there could be some sly connections and Easter eggs, who knows. Now, the first trailer for this, which we did a huge breakdown for, and you can click it right up there, hints at the Maximals and Predacons already having a presence here on Earth, with the modern-day Autobots and Decepticons unaware of their existence. This is then going to blend the different generations of the original Transformers from the 80s with the newer animal versions of each respective faction. Surprisingly, though, the main villains of this film aren't supposed to be the Predacons or Decepticons, but rather the Terrorcons. All of this may sound like gobbledygook to anyone aware of the Beast Wars series, but let's break it down for you. So the Maximals are essentially the equivalent to the Autobots, mostly taking the form of mammals, birds, or fish, while the Predacons are essentially the Decepticons taking the form of reptiles, amphibians, and insects, while the Terrorcons are a subgroup of disbanded Decepticons essentially living on their own code of ethics. When promoting the film, producer Lorenzo de Bonaventura added, "We get to pair everyone up against each other, so it becomes a grand finale epic Transformers experience. When the Terrorcons disrupt our movie, you're gonna feel it." But it's really the Terrorcons who are the leading villains. But reeling things back a bit, in order to get this mega showdown, Rise of the Beasts takes place in mainly 90s Brooklyn, New York, introducing Anthony Ramos' character of Noah Diaz as the Sam Witwicky of this film. Said to be an ex-military electronics expert supporting his family, where he comes across the Autobot of Mirage being a staple of the franchise throughout some of the other films and series, this time sporting the look of a silver-blue Porsche 964 and voiced by SNL alum Pete Davidson. Upon befriending Mirage, Noah is introduced to a handful of other Autobots that we can see in the first trailer, including Optimus Prime, voiced by Peter Cullen, RC, voiced by Liza Koshy, who appears to be the female commando holding onto the brown Volkswagen panel bus. The Volkswagen is an Autobot as well, being the scientist of Wheeljack, voiced by Cristo Fernandez, and of course our lovable yellow Corvette, Bumblebee. We also know Dominique Fishback will be another leading human character by the name of Elena, said to be an artifact researcher at a New York City museum, whose boss kind of keeps taking credit for all of her work. I'm assuming Noah and the Autobots will seek out her help to research some sort of artifact that will then lead them to Peru, which is said to be where a decent portion of the movie takes place, and according to the trailer, this is where the Maximals will reveal themselves to Noah, Elena, and Optimus. Again, Maximals are the animal versions of Autobots and going to include Optimus Primal, a giant gorilla, and a great pun of a name voiced by Ron Perlman, Air Razor, a peregrine falcon voiced by Michelle Yeoh, Rhinox, of course a rhinoceros, who is the tech expert of the Maximals and voiced by David Sobolov, along with Cheetar, a cheetah who is said to be kind of the rookie of the Maximal team. These two forces will team up going against the Decepticons, Predacons, and the main villains, Terrorcons. Now, the leader of the Terracons is going to be Scourge, voiced by Peter Dinklage, taking the form of a Peterbilt 359 logging semi-truck. So if the look of this vehicle isn't evil enough for you, Scourge is said to be a trophy hunter, collecting Autobots and Maximal pieces, almost hunting like sport. Producer D. Bonaventura added, one of the cool features that Steven came up with, that Scourge basically takes the insignias off of the robots that he's killed and fuses them onto his body, so he's like a living memorial of the havoc he's created. Meaning Scourge will physically display his kill count on his body, with director Capel adding, I wanted to dabble more in the horror in this one and make people actually jump out of their seats when they see certain things. So it sounds like this will be one heck of a battle bot royale between the 3 or I guess 5 factions. Again, this movie is releasing in theaters on June 9th, 2023, in the heart of summer movie season, so it appears that they are gearing up for one heck of a blockbuster movie. Now, in the next part of this film, I want to talk about some of the potential plot leaks, characters, and other things that give us a better idea of what the heck is going down in this concrete jungle of Rise of the Beasts. This is your spoiler warning. Cars, spoilers, you know. So if you don't want to have anything ruined for you for this upcoming Transformers movie, I would recommend you shift into 5th gear and speed out of here right now. Now again, I would take all of this with a grain of salt, as these leaks may not be 100% true, but it is rumored that the main plot of the film is the differing factions trying to obtain the warp keys, similar to the original plot of the Beast Wars animated series and the Golden Disc. The motivations between each faction seem to be a bit different, with the Autobots wanting to return back home to Cybertron, but Scourge and the Terracons want to bring Unicron to Earth, essentially an extra-dimensional entity twin to Primus, to claim the planet. Said to be sort of switching things up from your traditional Autobots versus Decepticons matchup, even though the rivalry is supposed to be present in the film, with Optimus initially having a run-in with a no-name D-level Decepticon to set the stage for the robot versus robot action. It also sounds like Optimus is a younger, more jaded, distrustful version of the leader of the Autobots than we've seen in the Bay films. He isn't too fond of the humans, but apparently his mentality changes throughout the film, later becoming the more of a protector that we've seen of him and of the planet. One of the biggest heartbreaks is the rumored exclusion of any real Predacons. Yeah, I mentioned that this is like a weird thruple angle happening in the film with hero and villain team-ups, but the only real Predacon or Predacon-looking creatures are big scorpions, similar to Scorponok that was featured in the original Beast Wars series. However, they actually aren't that Predacon, instead generic creatures for them to fight. The human element of the film is said to be at a minimum, though, which I always thought was the weakest part of the Bay films, so there's supposed to be no military involvement like Bumblebee. Instead, the film is solely Anthony Ramos and Dominique Fishback's character of Noah and Elena as they help the Autobots recover the trans-warp or warp keys that are needed. Though rumored not to add much to the film, Fishback's character is a museum intern rather than researcher, solely there to interpret maximal hieroglyphs to help them recover these keys, and Ramos' character seems to be brought into the mix by Mirage, resembling a Sam and B relationship from the first Transformers films. So I'm guessing Mirage is going to be the catalyst between the Autobots and the humans to show one another that they can be trusted and protecting. Now, Bumblebee also apparently reinforces these feelings upon Optimus as being a protector for the humans, assuming because he's had these adventures with the humans before in the Bumblebee movie. However, it's never really referenced, or there's not a nod to that movie, which feels a bit strange. I mentioned earlier Peru was another big location in the film, and apparently the warp keys, or one of them, is what drives them to this place. Said that Noah, Elena, and others fly aboard a cargo ship that is later revealed to be the Transformer Stratosphere, voiced by John DiMaggio with a Scottish accent, and the ship lands close to Machu Picchu, trying to recover a key before the Terracons. At some point in the movie, it's rumored that Air Razor is attacked by the Terracons, hacked, and then is turned evil. I vaguely remember something along these lines happening in the animated Beast Wars series, but again, this is supposed to lead to the final showdown with Scourge and a couple of other Terracons activating a giant Avenger-style portal beam into the sky and fighting against the Maximals and Autobots. There's also some rumored interrelationship details amongst some of the Autobots and Maximals, like an implied relationship between RC and Wheeljack that we can kind of see in the trailer footage here or there, but it goes a little further, implying sexual innuendos between the pair, like going 69 and a 55, which feels like it's not too far off from, like the Megan Fox Bay film days. The leaks also suggest that Primal and Airazor are sort of the main Maximals. Primal, with the help of Cheetor and Rhinox, are tasked with guarding one of the keys in Machu Picchu, and sort of has to teach Optimus that humans can be trusted. While Airazor is kind of a wise Maximal, one to keep a level head, however is there to supply a lot of the exposition to the film. Now, just like Optimus had his rollout moment in previous films, the Maximals are supposed to, and I'm so excited for this, have their maximized transform moment, which I hope is as hype as the 2017 Power Rangers Go Go Power Rangers moment. As we mentioned, this is supposed to be the start of a new Transformers trilogy, and there's supposed to be a mid-credit scene teasing the next film featuring Unicron, which of course is what the Terracons were rumored to be motivated into bringing to Earth. Unfortunately, time travel, which played a huge role in the original Beast Wars series, may actually be absent from the entire plot, which seems a bit odd to explain how Maximals and Predacons have been here in the first place. But again, these are the leaks. Take everything with a grain of salt. Anyway, that is everything we know about the Transformers Rise of the Beasts movie. What are your thoughts on Rise of the Beast? Were you a big fan of the 90s Beast Wars series, or has the Transformers franchise veered too far off the road? And I'll let you know, we're currently running a competition right now, giving away 3 copies of Black Adam and Dawn of the Dead on the 15th of January, and all you gotta do to get a chance of winning this is like this video, subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment down below on your thoughts of Rise of the Beasts. We pick the comments at random at the end of the month, and the winners of last month are on screen right now. So if that's you, message us on Twitter at Heavy Spoilers. If you want something else to watch, be sure to check out some of our huge breakdowns we've done recently. Interstellar, Logan, The Thing, lots of stuff. With that out of the way, thank you for your constant support. I've been Jared. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and peace.